Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to get really specific, really tactical. We are diving headfirst into the 2026 Indianapolis housing market,
Right.
specifically for central Indiana. The goal here is to take this huge buyer's guide you sent over and turn it into an actual playbook you can use.
That is the mission. We're skipping all the fluff. We're just pulling out the critical numbers, the hidden costs people miss, and, the actual strategies that are working for buyers right this minute. This is your shortcut.
Okay, let's start with a snapshot of where we are right now. This is based on November 2025 data. And right away, there's a tension in the numbers.
A big one.
The median close price just hit $315,000. That's a 6.8% increase year over year. I mean, that's a rapid pace.
It is. And what's so interesting is the paradox underneath that number. On the surface, it looks like there might be some relief. Active listings are at 4,412.
Which is high, right?
That's the highest we've seen since 2021. So you see that and you think, okay, great, more to choose from.
But that's not the whole story. The key metric, months of inventory, is telling us something completely different. It's only 2.8 months.
Exactly. And to put that in context, a balanced, healthy market is 4 to 6 months. So at 2.8, we are still deep in a seller's market.
So the good stuff is just flying off the shelves.
Instantly. The average home is on the market for just 24 days, and it's selling for 98.9% of the list price. It's really two markets. The good, well-priced homes go immediately, and the, let's say the marginal ones, they sit. And that's what's pushing that total listing number up.
And it doesn't look like that pressure is letting up. The forecasts for 2026 from Mybor and FC Tucker, they're predicting another 4 to 7% price hike.
Which means waiting just makes it more expensive to get in. But there is a little bit of a silver lining coming on the financing side, which is why the timing now is so interesting.
Right.
Projections show mortgage rates could settle somewhere between 5.75 and 6.5% by next summer. The problem is you can't always wait for summer.
Okay, let's unpack that because that's the immediate hurdle. If you're a buyer today, great credit, good down payment, you're probably still looking at a 30-year fixed rate of what, 6.25, maybe 6.6.
That's the range, and that's a serious barrier.
Yeah.
Which is why the smart buyers, they're not just taking the standard 30-year fixed anymore.
So what are they doing?
The guide points to three essential strategies that are becoming common. First one is the temporary buy down.
The buy down. We're hearing that a lot, especially with new construction.
Exactly. Builders and some motivated sellers are basically paying cash to lower your interest rate for the first few years. You'll see it called a 2-1 or even a 3-2-1 buy down.
Okay, so break that down. What does a 2-1 buy down actually mean for my monthly payment?
It means for your first year, your rate is 2% lower than the actual loan rate. In year 2, it's 1% lower. Then in year 3, it goes back to the full rate, say 6.5%.
So it's basically a bridge.
It's a bridge. It gives you breathing room for 24 months, hoping rates will have dropped by then so you can refinance into a better permanent loan.
Smart. Okay, strategy number 2 sounds like the holy grail if you can find it. Assumable mortgages.
Oh, this is the game changer. Buyers are actively hunting for homes that have FHA or VA loans from that 2021 to 2023 period.
When rates were at rock bottom.
I mean, we're talking loans locked in at 2.5 to 3.75%. If you can qualify to take over that loan, your payment plummets.
But there has to be a catch, right? It can't be that simple.
It's not. The process is complex. You have to deal with the seller's lender, and the biggest hurdle is you have to come up with the cash difference between the sales price and what's left on the loan. That can be a huge number.
A second down payment almost.
Pretty much. But the savings are so massive, it's worth the headache for some.
And the third strategy is an old friend making a comeback. The adjustable rate mortgage, the ARM.
Yep, specifically the 51 and 71 ARMs. Right now, you can get a starting rate in the low 5s. That's a full point lower than a fixed rate. That's real money every month.
But I think for anyone who remembers 2008, the words adjustable rate mortgage probably set off some alarm bells. Why is it a safer bet now?
That's a fair question. The whole bet is based on the expectation that rates will fall within the next 5 to 7 years before your rate ever adjusts. And today's ARMs are so much more regulated. The buyer is making a calculated risk that they'll be able to refinance before that adjustment period ever kicks in.
Okay, so that helps on the financing side. But a good rate doesn't mean a home is affordable, right?
Yeah.
Especially in central Indiana.
Let's talk about the true cost beyond just the mortgage.
This is where people get into trouble. They use the generic 2836 rule, but they forget PITI. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And the T and the I, taxes and insurance, They are wildly different depending on what county you're in.
And the guide has the specific data for that, which is so important. Let's run through the big three counties.
Okay, so let's start up north. Hamilton County. That's Carmel, Fishers, Zionsville.
The most expensive areas. Right. And you pay for it in taxes. The average rate there is between 0.98 and 1.05%. And your insurance is higher too, around $1,900 a year.
Now let's go west to Hendricks County, Brownsburg, Avon.
Big difference. Hendricks County is way more favorable on taxes. You're looking at rates from 0.82 to 0.88%. Insurance is a bit lower too, maybe $1,600 a year. And Marion County, Indy proper, is sort of in the middle.
That difference, between 0.85 and 1.05%, it sounds small. But on a big purchase price, it's huge.
Let's make it real. The guide uses a great example. A $500,000 house in Carmel, in Hamilton County.
Okay.
You're paying somewhere between $5,800 and $6,200 a year in property tax alone.
Wow.
If you'd use the Hendricks County rate to estimate your payment, you'd be short by over $1,000 a year. That's almost $100 a month. That just blows up a tight budget. You have to know the local tax rate. It's non-negotiable.
So once you've got the budget dialed in with the right tax numbers, the next question is, where? Where is the growth? Where is the opportunity? Let's get into the suburb rankings.
The list is really dominated by the northern suburbs. No surprise there. Number one is Zionsville, which has the highest median price at $620,000.
So what's pushing Zionsville to the top?
Two things, really. One is the huge new village expansion, bringing in new commercial and residential. And two is just incredibly low inventory. That scarcity drives prices up.
And right behind it is Carmel.
Yep, number two, Carmel at $585 median. Carmel's strength comes from these big city projects like Midtown and the Proscenium complex. People are paying a massive premium for that walkable, amenity-rich lifestyle.
What about Westfield at number 4? It feels a little different.
Westfield is a different animal. Its median is lower, $455K, and its growth is tied directly to Grand Park, that giant sports complex. But maybe more importantly, Westfield is new construction central, and all those builders are using those rate buydowns we talked about to move inventory.
Okay, who's the growth leader? The one that appreciated the fastest, even if it wasn't the priciest.
That would be Center Grove and Bargersville on the south side. They're number 5 on the list.
Interesting.
Yeah, even with a high median of 480, they saw appreciation of 10.8% year over year. That is some serious velocity.
And for someone looking for maybe a bit more value?
The guide points to Brownsburg at number 6. The median there is 370, and it's got 2 huge advantages. Those low Hendricks County taxes and really good access to I-74 for commuters.
This raises a key question for buyers, though. New construction versus resale. Where should you focus?
It depends what you want. The new builds are clustered in Westfield, Fishers, and Bargersville. That's where you'll find the builder incentives. But resale is still king in places like Carmel and Zionsville. Buyers there want the bigger, mature lots, and they're willing to pay to avoid the extra fees and taxes that can come with new developments.
Okay, that covers the where. Let's shift to the how. How do you actually get a deal done in this market?
First thing you have to understand is the legal footing. Indiana is what's called a caveat emptor state.
Buyer beware.
Buyer beware. So yes, the seller has to give you a disclosure form, but the guide makes a great point. As is, clauses are everywhere. The burden is on you, the buyer, to do your homework. Especially if you're looking at a home with a septic system or a well. Those are your responsibility to inspect.
And they can be incredibly expensive to fix.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the money again, but the hidden costs, the things that surprise you at the closing table.
Okay, beyond your normal 2 to 3.5% for closing costs, the single biggest gotcha in Indiana is property tax proration.
Explain that. Why does that trip people up so often?
Because in Indiana, you pay your property taxes in arrears. So this year, you're paying for last year. When you buy a house, you have to credit the seller at closing for the time they lived there, but haven't paid taxes for yet.
So you're fronting them cash.
A lot of cash. You could easily owe 4 to 6 months worth of property taxes at the closing table. That can be 5, 6, 7,000 extra dollars you need to have in cash on top of everything else.
That is a deal killer if you're not ready for it. What about the other smaller costs?
You have to budget for them specifically. A survey is going to run you $450 to $750. A good home inspection, maybe $550 to $950. The appraisal is another $550 to $800. And that money is spent whether you close on the house or not.
And the stakes on all this go way up when you're in a bidding war, which is standard for Carmel or Zionsville. What tactics are actually winning those fights?
The guide is really clear on this. First, you use an escalation clause, but you have to be smart about it. You cap it at, say, $10,000 or $15,000 above the next highest offer.
And the second big one is dealing with the appraisal.
Yes, appraisal gap coverage. This is huge. You write into the offer that you will pay out of your own pocket up to $20,000 or $30,000 if the appraisal comes in lower than your offer price.
That's a huge sign of confidence to a seller.
It's the biggest sign. It tells them you're going to close no matter what the bank says. And then, of course, there's tightening up your inspection contingency, maybe doing it for information only.
What about the non-money stuff?
Never, ever underestimate being flexible. Offering the seller the exact closing date they want or letting them rent the house back for a month, that can be more valuable than an extra $5,000. And always, always use a pre-approval from a strong local lender.
Okay, here's a stat from the guy that really blew my mind. It's this idea of the off-market advantage.
This is maybe the most important piece of information for a serious buyer. In the hotspots, Carmel, Zionsville, Geist, somewhere between 18 and 22% of all home sales.
18 to 22%.
Never hit the public market. They never show up on Zillow. They're sold through agent networks, pocket listings, private sales.
So if you're just waiting for an email alert from a website, you are completely blind to 1 out of every 5 homes available in the area you want most.
That's the reality. The successful buyers in those areas are plugged into local networks that give them access to that hidden inventory.
And if the cost is still a barrier, are there assistance programs people should know about?
Definitely. Look into the IHCDA Next Home program. It can offer up to $7,500 in forgivable funds. And there's also the FHL Bank Indianapolis grant, which can be up to $15,000.
And what's a realistic timeline for all of this?
If you're buying a resale, you should plan on 35 to 50 days from your offer being accepted to getting the keys. For new construction, it's much longer, more like 60 to 120 days, sometimes more.
So let's tie this all together. The market is moving fast. Specialized financing isn't a nice-to-have anymore, it's a need-to-have. And knowing your local tax numbers and being ready for those hidden closing costs like proration is absolutely critical.
Right. And so the final thought I'd want to leave you with is this. If we know that a huge chunk of the best homes, that 18 to 22%, are trading hands completely off market, how do you change your search? How do you make sure you can see that 1/5 of the market that most buyers never even know exists?
A huge visibility gap.
It is. And bridging that gap is what will separate the people who actually buy a home in 2026 from those who just keep looking.
That is the challenge. Use this data, use these tactics. And thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.